The debate coach said I needed years of practice, not knowing I'd been homeschooled by a former Supreme Court clerk. I walked into Riverside High's debate team meeting carrying a dollar store notebook and wearing jeans that were too short. 15 students sat in clusters reviewing note cards. The coach, Mr. Daniels, stood at the front writing state final strategy on the board. He turned when I entered and asked if I needed directions somewhere. I said I wanted to join the debate team. A senior named Whitney Cross laughed out loud. Jordan Fletcher, the team captain, exchanged glances with his vice captain, Alexis Park. Mr. Daniels asked if I had debate experience. I said I'd studied constitutional law. Jordan snorted and said this wasn't a beginner's club, that they were preparing for nationals. Mr. Daniels suggested I try Model UN first. I stood there letting them dismiss me because explaining who I really was would create problems my mother and I didn't need. Mr. Daniels said I could observe if I stayed quiet. He pointed to a desk in the back corner. I sat down and watched them run practice rounds. Whitney debated Jordan on federal jurisdiction. Alexis argued Fourth Amendment protections with another senior named Michael. Their arguments were surface level. Whitney confused judicial review with judicial activism. Jordan cited cases he clearly hadn't read, just summaries. Alexis made emotional appeals that would never survive cross-examination. Michael strawmanned his opponent 3 times in 5 minutes. They'd memorized talking points without understanding the constitutional framework underneath. Mr. Daniels praised Jordan's passionate delivery, despite Jordan completely misunderstanding the precedent he'd cited. After 30 minutes, Mr. Daniels asked if I understood the constitutional issues being discussed. I said it seemed like standard Commerce Clause interpretation. Whitney explained in a condescending voice that they were employing advanced legal frameworks requiring years of study. I nodded and went back to my notebook, writing down the 3 logical fallacies Whitney had committed and the 2 Supreme Court cases that contradicted Jordan's position. I noted that Alexis had fundamentally misunderstood the Fourth Amendment's reasonable expectation of privacy standard. I wrote it all down and said nothing. The meeting ended with Mr. Daniels announcing regionals were in 5 weeks. Jordan asked if I'd be coming back. I said probably. He told Whitney that having someone to fetch research materials could be useful. Mr. Daniels said if I wanted to join, I'd need $30 in club dues. I said I'd think about it. My mother picked me up and asked how it went. I said fine. She asked if I'd told them about my background. I said no, that we'd agreed I'd keep that quiet. She looked relieved because she was still rebuilding her legal career after being disbarred for whistleblowing on judicial corruption. My mother had clerked for a Supreme Court justice for 3 years before joining a federal appeals court. When I was 8 and she started homeschooling me after the disbarment, every lesson became a masterclass in legal reasoning. She taught me constitutional law using actual case briefs. We spent 6 years analyzing Supreme Court oral arguments and dissecting judicial opinions. By 14, I could construct legal arguments that would hold up in federal court. I went back the next week with $30 I'd earned babysitting. Mr. Daniels said they were doing qualifying rounds to determine who would compete at regionals. The winner would represent Riverside as first speaker. He looked at me and said these rounds were only for experienced members and I should observe to learn proper technique. I said I wanted to compete anyway. Whitney said watching me crash and burn might be educational. Jordan said it was my funeral. I went first against Jordan and dismantled every argument he made using case law he didn't know existed. Whitney went pale when I cross-examined her and exposed 6 constitutional errors in under 3 minutes. When Mr. Daniels asked where I learned to argue, I told him my mother clerked for the Supreme Court. The room went completely silent. By the end of qualifying rounds, I'd beaten every member of the team without losing a single argument. And Mr. Daniels asked if my mother would consider coaching us for nationals.